So welcome everyone, thank you for joining us today. We are going to present our very first study on consumer behavior. But before that, this study is possible actually thanks to the support of our European Union co-funded project, RISE Bookselling. And we have the chance of having someone from the European Commission here, Georg Häusler. So I'm going to ask him to come on stage just to say a few words before we dive into the study.
Thank you, Julie. Really, just a few words. So, RISE is a project which has been actually established in the bad COVID times, and I'm happy to say that it has shown its value for those 4 years, and that we have decided to continue our collaboration with the European booksellers. Booksellers being at the forefront of all the challenges the book sector faces. I think booksellers also being the ones who have been probably the most ones hit when the COVID time occurred, but also now seeing the latest statistics that things are going pretty well now for the book sellers, and this is, I think, a very positive development. You're at the forefront of all the changes the sector is facing, the green transition, the digital transition, and I believe with your way of working to bringing together booksellers and best practices and experience from all the Creative Europe countries is the best way to approach the future. Now, this study you are presenting here now, I think is a particularly interesting one for all of us to, get answers to the question how we can keep people reading books and buying books, but also how we can gain new public and new consumers and new clients for what is so dear to us, reading books and consuming literature. Nothing else from my side. Looking forward to this presentation now, Julie, to see what you found out.
Yep. Okay, it's staying there. Okay, so first, who am I? I'm Julie Belgrado. I'm director of the European and International Booksellers Federation. And before going to the study, I'll tell you just a brief word about who we are and what we do. So EIBF, the voice of booksellers, we are an umbrella organization based in Brussels, and we do represent the interests of National Booksellers Association in the European Union, but also actually outside of the European Union. We have members in Australia, New Zealand, Switzerland, etc., which allow us to have a really broad perspective on what we do. We have all kinds of booksellers in membership, independent, bookshops, chains, family business, online store. There is one big tech giant that we don't have in membership for obvious reasons. Our job basically is to ensure that booksellers' voice is heard in every relevant public debate, be it a VAT, fair competition, all those files that down the line affect the booksellers on the ground. We work on those at our office and discuss them with policymakers. We also work at strengthening the link between Booksellers Association because we organize events, we organize conferences for our members to meet, exchange, and actually learn from each other. And we enable this knowledge exchange through those events, but also actually and mostly since early 2022, since our RISE Bookselling program. Our RISE Bookselling program is a 3-year program that is co-funded by the Creative Europe program of the European Union. And as Georg just mentioned, it's been renewed for a 4-year period, so we're really, really happy about that. We launched in April 2022. We've come a long way. The aim of the project as a whole is to actually upscale, reinforce, and maximize the capacity and resilience of the sector. And to do that, we created very specific tailored activities, with most of them being directed directly at booksellers themselves. We do have an exchange for booksellers where they go in another country to visit. We have a very big booksellers conference, which is going to take place next year in Riga. We do research papers and, in this case, studies. So the study, how did we get there? Our first idea was to have a study that would be post-COVID, see what people would buy post-COVID. But then we decided to have other priorities at the time, and we waited, and now we're here, 2024. You can see on the slide a little timeline of events and things in the news that have actually had a very big impact on our market, on the book market in general and in the world. In the past years, we had the pandemic, we had an energy crisis, we had inflation, we still have very high in some countries. AI boomed, and with all this taken into account, we realized with time that there was a time when booksellers felt within the four walls of their shop that their issues were very much their own, that they were the one of their shop, the one of their team, the one of their country, but not the one of booksellers who are outside their borders. With time, this is no longer true. Declining reading rates, VAT problems, we see them all over the world, and so more and more we realize with time that booksellers, no matter where they are, yes, they have market-related problems, but they do have problems that are common to all of them, no matter where they're based. Our world is rapidly evolving, changing. Consumer have different way to buy books. They don't buy the same. We see trends and things changing rapidly. So we realize, okay, now this is the time. We need a solid overview and an access to data. Yes, booksellers on the ground will tell you, I know my customers. This is why they are booksellers. This is what they're good at. And they engage with the local customer and the community. This is one thing. This is one insight we can get. But on the other hand, we also need the data, trends, assessment, and actually compare. We realize this is one really good added value we can have. So we are at a time where we have unprecedented challenges, but also remarkable opportunities. And that's why we have this study, because we want it to be a tool to help us seize those opportunities. So we decided to look at consumer behavior. So what you're going to see here are not sales data, they are consumer who were surveyed and answer questions to kind of get the feel of people who are buying books or not buying books and why. We wanted to gain further understanding into trends and current just habits. Why do you buy, when do you buy, etc. With all that, we wanted to equip the booksellers with knowledge that they can use to anticipate what maybe they'll put in stock, how they'll approach the customer, or maybe just how they're going to look at their shop in general. The first thing also that this study is doing for us, first, it's the first time we're doing a study that big, and for us, we're really happy, really proud, it's a great achievement. But we managed to compare 19 countries and have a global overview. And this is the first time we can do this, and it gives us really, really great insight. So for the scope and the methodology, we surveyed different consultancy, and we decided to work with a Belgian-based consultancy called Listen, with a really long experience in multi-country surveys. So they already had the contact, they already knew how to handle that part. They did some desk research looking at existing studies in the different markets, because all markets have sales data, some have reading studies. So we pulled all that together, they did that part of the desk research, and then we had an online quantitative survey. We surveyed 19 countries around the globe because we needed, with all the influence we see, for instance, from English-speaking literature, we needed to see a little bit how that impacts the other countries. So we had a representative sample in each of the country of 500 respondents per country, and then that makes a total pool of 9,500, which allow us to actually calculate an average and a benchmark against which to compare. The scope of the study is immense, large. It's 150 pages. And you can see here all the areas that we covered, and this is like a short list. We looked at reading, we looked also at buying, we looked at when people like to read, which type of bookshop or type of shop they prefer to buy from. So we have a lot of data, and I think what we're showing here today is the first step. This is not the end of what we can yield as insight from this study. As I said, this is the very first time that we can compare each of these countries with each other and with an average for all the 19 of them. So we do have a benchmark, and I think this is really helpful. So this is the first byproduct of the study. We collected the main outstanding data points, and we put them into one-pagers that are all live right now on the RISE website. So feel free to visit risebookselling.eu, you will find there one country pager for each of the 19 surveyed countries, where you will find information as in, was I reading a book when I was a kid? Do I don't read it now? So you'll see the perception towards reading. What is the top 5 most preferred genre? Why do people go to independent bookshop? Because down the line, that's what we were interested in with the study. So they're all freely available and downloadable on the website, and you'll find one for each of the 19 countries surveyed. So now we decided to highlight here a few of the key findings. So reading and listening to books, because we asked the question as in reading or also people who access digital books, audiobooks, is considered as a hobby by 3 to 4 respondents out of 10. We surveyed adults, because surveying kids is a little bit more complicated, so we surveyed from 18 until 55 plus. This, for me, was the first worrying thing. We know that literacy rates are declining all over the world. We look at PISA results. But the simple fact that the adults who raise the children, the readers of tomorrow, don't even consider reading a hobby is a little bit worrying. So there is already work to do there on what can we do to change adults' current perception on reading. At least 2/3 of the respondents have bought a book in the past year, so you can see also the percentage per country. So we see that Italians are top, at least in our pool of respondents. Italians are heavy book buyers. And this, in a way, is a good news for the market, but this, of course, includes books that you might have bought as a present, books that you might have bought but never read. So a next step for us will be to make a comparison between people who declare themselves as reader and people who declare themselves as buyers, because we saw that there is a little bit of a gap there. Paper books remains the most purchased format, so this is good. You can see there all the stats actually are from people who bought books in the past year, declaring, I bought a paper book, or I bought an ebook or an audiobook. We can see that paper is winning. In the Nordic countries, we can see that ebook and audiobook is slightly above. In all other countries, the second preferred format is ebooks. But there's still a big gap, so again, can we do some more work on the paper book as an object? When booksellers sell it to the customer, is there something to do there in the shop on top of what they're already doing? Because our next find is that people go to the paper for the sensory. So we ask them, what is your top 5 reason for choosing a paper book or an ebook or an audiobook? Paper book, it's sensory experience that comes first. So people like the paper, the size, the cover. There is a whole thing there that we can do about how the book is marketed, how it's sold, about its sensory value. With the ebook, we see that's because it's easy to carry, and audiobooks because it allows to do other things at the same time. So audiobooks is multitasking. Surprisingly, for me, it was to see that book was easy to carry is the second, because when you read this massive hardback of 600 pages, it's not, but then I guess people don't see this as a barrier, and this already is a good information to have. Ebooks, easy to store, and audiobooks also easy to carry. Funnily enough, the sensory experience comes third for audiobook, because of the senses that it calls to, which ebook is this a little bit of this in between. Hybrid sales, the winning model. We ask people, the respondents, we ask them, do you buy books online and in a physical shop? Do you buy books only in physical shops? Do you buy your books only online? You can see that the majority of the respondent, orange, do both. So this is a very good insight. I mean, after COVID, a lot of booksellers moved to a hybrid model. They do have an online shop, but this is here to stay. So if booksellers have not invested yet in a website or in a sales support, this is the time to do it, because there is a clear demand on the side of the customer to be able to choose. Can I buy my book online, or can I go to the shop? So hybrid is definitely we had very, very few respondents who go for one or the other exclusively. We ask what's the reason behind your choice of purchase location. We can see that chains of physical bookshop will have the wide selection first as a reason. Physical independent bookshops will have convenient place, and I don't have it here because the data is too nitty-gritty detail, but convenient place, wide selection, enjoyable atmosphere are the top 3 reasons why people go to independent bookshop. They come in a different order depending on the country. So in France, for instance, it's going to be first because of the enjoyable atmosphere. Some other country before it's because of the selection or the convenience. But those are really the top 3 reasons why people visit independent bookshops. So maybe make the bookshop really cozy. That might be a good investment for the future. Supermarket, hypermarket, we see that people go because it's convenient and actually because of price or promotion. Book fairs or book markets, as in customer fairs, that might exist in some countries. People go there because mostly because of the promotion, and then because of the atmosphere. It's social, you're with a lot of people, you have cosplay, you can meet author, etc. So that's the second reason. Online, number 1 is easy, second is promotion, third, the selection. You're online, obviously you have access to everything. So we have this into more details. We will break it down because I think there is further insight to get also from this breakdown and why do people go where. The overall purchasing behavior remains stable, so we ask people, within the last 2 years, do you feel that you bought more books or bought less books? And we see that in some countries, people declare that they bought more books in the past 2 years. Some others said they bought less. All in all, if we look at the global average for all the 19 countries, we see that the minus more or less equal the pluses, which is a good thing when we look at the average. When we look at the country-by-country breakdown, we can see that in some countries, people declare a really, really steep decline in their purchasing habits. And again, why? This is something that we need to look at in detail, because in those countries, maybe there's something that can be done to give, again, the appetite of purchasing the books. So some initial takeaways from the study. As I said, it's 150 pages. It's really heavy. So these are my 2 cents when looking at the numbers. First, reading as a hobby. As a heavy reader, passionate about books, bookstores, I was shocked that people cannot consider reading as a hobby, but there is definitely something to be done there, because it should be something that people associate with pleasure, with leisure, with going somewhere, someplace else. So there is definitely a work to be done there. At least 2/3 of the respondents have bought a book in the past year, so we still do have book buyers, people who said we don't buy books anymore. Not true. But there is work to improve that purchase behavior. Paper books are the most purchased format, and because it's a sensory experience, so how can we do to integrate that knowledge in the customer's experience when they're coming in the shop and purchasing the book? Is there something to do there with kids as well? There's something unique about paper books, so it should be used when selling it. Digital for the convenience. Is there a future for maybe book bundles? I have my paper copy, I have my digital copy. If it's so annoying that the paperback is heavy, maybe I can have a digital copy for when I travel. Hybrid sales, we see there's a clear demand from the customer. So definitely invest in the technology that allows the hybrid online sales, and also the customer support for that. Customers primarily choose independent bookshop for their convenience, wide selection, enjoyable atmosphere. I already say that, but then it is important that those are key aspects that booksellers can capitalize on, and booksellers are innovative, creative, resilient people, and I'm sure if there are booksellers in the room, they already have plenty of ideas in their head to do just that. The overall purchasing behavior remains stable. This is a good news. Now this should be monitored a little bit more closely so that we can see how we can maybe bring it a little bit higher up. And my time is almost up, so thank you very much for your attention. Please do visit the website, download the one-pager, look at them, and thank you very much for your attention.